Hello, folks. I'll give everybody a minute to get in if anybody is going to watch. I was idle there for the first 5 minutes, just letting anybody that may want to watch the stream get in. So I'll try to give a few people a minute or two to get in the live stream and check it out. Right. So, Happy New Year, everybody. It's officially the first day of 2023, so I hope it finds you well. It's SSD I'm testing out. I actually ordered a 512 gigabyte, and Amazon sent me a 1 terabyte. So bank error in my favor because it was only $28 and I got a 1 terabyte. So definitely not what I was planning on receiving because it wasn't for me at the end of the day. So I ordered another one that should be here in a day or two. This was actually kind of a pleasant surprise. So I've been seeing these all over Amazon for super dirt cheap. That's one of the reasons why I picked them in the first place. They had a 512 gigabyte for like $25 or $28, something like that. And it does say that it has an cache, and that's an important thing to look for, especially if you're going to get an expensive SATA SSD or an inexpensive, even an NVMe. Some of them don't have the cache. So it's very important to make sure that it has that SLC cache because that's where a lot of some of the speed will come from, and without that you will find that it may not be really any faster than your spinning hard drive was. So something to be considerate of when you're upgrading, especially if you're upgrading from something ancient like what I have over here. So if you have something like this, an old ancient heavy 10-pounder here, which I mean some servers still have these, regarded something the size. In a modern server, you're going to pull it out and it's going to be like 10 terabytes or better, or at least a few terabytes. This is a 60 gigabyte card. 60. This is older than dirt, I would say. Yeah, it's not SATA 3 because it's not 6 gigabits per second. I would say this is probably either SATA 2 or maybe even SATA 1, which would be interesting to find out. So if I can get you the camera and the camera, so much here. 20-year-old computer, put it in down there. I've got a bunch of old NVIDIA down there. But I can test it, even older stuff. The one thing that I have kind of hit the bottleneck on though, and anybody that watches this, feel free to leave a comment below, is that I do not have any HD video cards. I've got the old NVIDIA 8400 GSs. I've got a bunch of old PCI Express video cards, but I have a Pentium 2 system in particular that I'm trying to upgrade to an SSD and stuff, and I've got the SATA to IDE converter and all that, but what I don't have though is an ADB video card to get the video output from this machine. So if anybody has a spare one and would like to donate it to me for experimenting, please leave a comment. I would like to get in touch with you. I could go on eBay and try to find one. They're relatively inexpensive, but my problem when I get on any online store and start to shop for anything is I get stuck there for hours going through. I'm such a window shopper because I don't have money, and if I do spend it, then it's like a treat for me. So then I'm like super into what I'm getting, and then I end up over-researching it, and then I either end up spending more than what I originally planned on, or I don't spend anything because I can't decide, which I'm sure a lot of you probably suffer from that. You can leave a comment, but get some engagement. That's the goal for 2023, is that we're going to put out videos, even if I feel like they've been done 100 times. I've said that before on videos on my channel, and that's because I don't want to be derivative of other channels, but at the end of the day, man, I can't really do like newer stuff don't have the budget for it. I'm kind of super low budget here at the moment. I do have a full-time job, but you know, I'm bringing in like 24 grand a year after taxes from that job. So that's not really going to bring as much computer components here in front of us as I would like. That has to go to supporting my family. So I do have a Patreon set up for anybody that would like to help support any of these ventures, because computer stuff is expensive. So I would greatly appreciate it. And then also I do offer my services as a web designer and software developer. I have a subscription set up for that actually that you can find on my website. If you go to www.techyeah.net, especially when it comes to like your small business. You can pay somebody a couple grand to build your website, or you can pay me $160 a month to not only build it, but keep it maintained, keep it up to date, meet with you on a weekly basis, update pictures, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta keep it current, because what you'll find is if you do that, you pay a couple grand, and then a year or two goes by and your site's irrelevant, you know, and then you have to pay that money all over again. So I would rather just help you, help me, help you. It's set up on my website. Anyways, that was www.techyeah.net. If you go into the shop, it is selected as a feature. It says custom website design and administration. You can purchase it annually, but again, it is a subscription. It's recurring charge. Anyways, moving on. So, the topic of the live stream, anyways, was I'm going to make a video about Linux. So I have the GoPro here. Still need to run the house and grab the tripod. I want to just make sure that I'm getting some like decent footage of. Make sure I'm set to record the right place. Yep, okay. Start recording the stream here. Anyways, I want to make sure that I'm getting some like behind the scenes footage too as I make some of these. For a while too, I haven't wanted to make any videos because I've been like, oh good, you know, like my stuff isn't that great, and I only have this like really crappy webcam, and the GoPro isn't as good as I thought it would be. I really should have got like a Panasonic Linux G7 or something like that, but here we are, you know what I mean? I have to kind of make do with what I have. Sorry, I keep looking away from you guys. It's kind of a problem for me. I'm like looking at the output of OBS on the screen because I'm trying to make sure that this is all going off without a hitch. It's looking really good so far. Fiber internet is coming here. I'm getting the 1,000 up, 1,000 down. It's what is to be believed. I've been doing all of my due diligence and my research, and it was business internet. It's not really here yet for residential customers, but because I have taken out LLC, I was able to get the fiber internet. They should be calling me hopefully Monday with the setup time. I'm super stoked, man. 1,000 up, that's huge implications, man. Even if it's not a static IP, we can definitely set up some pretty cool routing through a service like no IP, and then if you have a router there's a lot of routers that support it. It's a dynamic DNS service, and so like they can change my IP address as much as they want, really, because I also have Cloudflare DNS, and I can just set up an alias. I have no problems with having another .alias in my website, especially like for the application that I plan on doing. So, for instance, if I build out my application and host it myself, I have no problems with my application sitting at like app.techyeah.net instead of it being techyeah.net /this/that, and then like having to do all this nonsense in it, because essentially it would be like trying to run two websites. But you know how that is, like you either have to run two web servers, or you have to have your web server configured in such a manner where you can do that. So but that's just the one headache on the other side. So then trying to get clients to see it, that's where DNS comes in, and all that stuff becomes a headache. Some of it's fresh in my head because I just watched a Linus Tech Tips video just a few minutes ago before I came out of the garage, as I'm sure a lot of you did. If you're into tech world, you probably, well, maybe not everybody in the tech world, but like a lot of guys my age, like late 20s, mid 20s to late to mid 40s, probably watch Linus. That's just, it's an assumption that I'm making. I'm not trying to disclude women from that. It's just look at their channel analytics. They're like overwhelmingly like male, 80% male between the ages of 25 to 45. And that's like, anyways, I'm sure you guys watch the videos. If you're here, you probably watch Linus. So, but they just did a video on DNS service, and websites don't actually need to have the .com at the end, which blows a lot of people's minds, and it's true to a degree, but all this complicated routing that we do with name service, it'd be different if we just like used IP addresses. But you know, on your business card, like if I handed you my business card at the bottom, it looks really, really good where it says, you know, worldwideweb.techia.net or what have you. It would look, I guess, a lot different, but it would be commonplace, though, if we just didn't do it the other way. So like, if I handed you the card and it said, you know, 26.72.100.7, you know, to the uninclined, at least nowadays, would probably look at that and be like, are you a hacker? I mean, like, if you knew programming, or if you've ever IP'd into a router, you probably know. But still, in this day and age, even an educated person would look at that and be like, you don't have DNS, you know, like, you can't have this like simplified for me. And in some cases, man, some URLs are so ridiculously long. Like, is it really simpler to have that long, ridiculous name instead of just the 4 octets or whatever, you know, in an IP address? I don't think so. I think it is IP version 6 stuff now that comes in here. But anyways, I've gotten like super far away from the original topic at hand, and that's, we're going to do a little series on Linux, you guys. Something that I've noticed, I mean, it's not like it's lost popularity, but I think Linux, sometimes we like to take it and put it on the back burner and act like it's not super important to the everyday. And that is just way, way, way wrong. So even if you think maybe you don't deal with it on a like everyday, but you do. That's the thing. So like the Linux kernel, anyways, the part that is actually Linux is in so much stuff. It is in even some toilets, man, smart TVs, washers, dryers, your phone, any Android phone, you know, like I know it's not Apple, but the thing you have to understand about Apple, okay, is that at least with Mac OS, it's the base on Mac OS was FreeBSD, which is Unix. Like if you go into your terminal on Mac OS, it's Bash, and Bash is the terminal that a lot of us use on Linux. But wait, so what? Mac OS is Linux? Well, no, it's based on Unix. See, FreeBSD. So like the not free part. See, Linux was created by a guy named Linus Torvalds in 1991, or at least it was started by him as a software project, you know, to have a kernel that could run these softwares that he was designing. So he's a kernel developer, so he most likely was developing in assembly code, you know, and his job is to make the computer hardware actually communicate with what the user wants. So like the user has data, and the user wants that data to do stuff on the computer. And so how do we make that happen? Well, that's where Linus Torvalds comes in. So kernel programmers are kind of the unsung heroes of the operating system or the software world in general. Our software wouldn't run without these guys. You know what I mean? It is their job to actually physically program how that communicates with everything on a hardware level, which is just like a ridiculous amount of complexity. It's mind-boggling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely not the most intelligent person in the whole wide world. As a matter of fact, I'm probably like on the low end of like more intelligent. I don't even like, it feels wrong to call yourself smart. I'm not going to say I'm dumb, but I'm definitely not like, that's a level of intelligence. You got to hand it to him. But anyways, Linus Torvald's overall goal was to like have this that could run software that he was already running inside of Linux. And then also use some of the newer features that were new at the time, the Intel 80 or 86 processor. Which seems like a lot of work just to use some extra functions on your CPU to program a whole operating system kernel, but you have to think at the time, even though it's super complex, it wasn't near as complex. But he's not the only person writing code for the Linux kernel, and it's continued to today in development. And I think what I have in my script here, which I'll get into after I start actually recording and making the video here, is I do believe the modern day kernel consists of just over like 23 million lines of code. 23 million. Let that number just kind of sink in for a minute. That's the Linux kernel. That's the part that's running on your Android phone or your smart TV or your smart toilet or your Samsung refrigerator or you name it, man. And it's so this 23 million lines loads in less than 30 seconds. Isn't that crazy? You know what I mean? With modern day storage speeds and stuff, and I'm not great. I mean, there's still cheap tablets and stuff. I'm not talking about the cheap stuff, man. I'm talking about like the stuff that you can get that's new right now. Like, you turn it on, you know, a minute, maybe at the most later, it's locked and loaded and ready to go. You know what I mean? And that's because everything else on top of the kernel. You have to think the kernel's 22 million lines of code. So how many more couple thousand or a couple million or hundreds of thousands of lines of code you draw on top of that to draw all the windows, controls, set system variables, all that stuff. Mind-boggling. That was one person originally. You know what I mean? Like that, it's still like, cause like Microsoft, even at the time, man, Bill Gates, he had a team. He had like people that were interested in this stuff with him that wanted to also make money with him and start this company. You know what I mean? Like, even if he did the original DOS or whatever, by the time it got to Windows, like that wasn't just a Bill Gates anymore. And you have to think, like, this was 91. This is after. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm sure there was some reverse engineering and stuff that happened there. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they were from complete scratch, but bro, you have to think. Like, you don't see anybody doing that now. So you see some of these companies talking about microkernels and this and that and the other thing, but like in your day-to-day, especially, you're not just going to come across somebody that's a kernel developer that, you know, you just don't meet people that code, you know, assembly. Just you don't see it that often. I've seen a couple channels on YouTube where a few guys are like, you know, hand coding some old NES games and stuff in 6502 assembly, but that's a whole different animal. It's assembly, but it's a different targeted system. And it's just like namespace occlusions and other things. You know what I mean? Even though some things might be similar, it's not 100% right. So that code won't compile and run on the same way. So that's why things like BASIC existed. You know what I mean? Because you could write code in BASIC and run it on your Commodore, and then take it over DOS and run it in, you know, BASIC for DOS. So, but that was the essential goal. So like cross-platform stuff has been around a lot longer than people realize. It just wasn't until a few of these guys started taking it and making it open source. That's the thing. Like everything in computers, and even today, still a lot of stuff is closed source, and that's because, I mean, think about it, man. You spend hours and hours of your life on stuff. You don't want people to just have that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, here you go. I spent like all my life working on this, but you just have it, you know. And that's a bleak way of looking at it. It's obviously very positive to share things that help everybody as a whole. It's the things that maybe shouldn't be monetized that I look at that way sometimes, but at the same time, like I just said, somebody put hours of their life into it, and it seems trivial. But at the end of the day, for economics to work and for these people to have jobs, they need compensated for these things. So even though I don't like it, every time I turn around, there's a dollar cost for software, for some other thing, and it's like it's a balance, right? You know, open source and it works to a degree, but like we can't make absolutely everything open source, or we have to find another way to create value out of that. And what a lot of companies have done, it's just started offering service instead of, you know what I mean, like here's our code, it does all this cool stuff, but it might be a little difficult for you to integrate it. We'll help you for a small fee. And I think maybe that might be the best way to go about it, honestly. So all parties feel like good about it, and then when issues happen, you don't get Karen syndrome, like, oh, I paid you just money for the stuff, and you're like, well, sir, you didn't pay us for the service, and we're sorry you're having a problem. And I think they might be actually more inclined to help you. But I don't know. I'm some small dude making this video in my garage. I've never even had a conversation even close to that difficult with any human being. So I guess I will wait until I have more knowledge about it. But anyways, Linux blows my mind, and I think more people need to learn it, because that's the one thing about it too, is trying to carry that knowledge over, and considering that 66% of the whole entire internet runs on Linux. And then the corporate world, and in the corporate world especially, because the cost of Windows has gotten so out of hand, it's best to have like one Windows server that is like serving, you know, policies, you know, Active Directory policies, which is like the one leg that Microsoft still has. You gotta hand it to them, man. Samba, for like on Linux, they're trying, man. You can try to set that text file, man, but just like serving through policies will never work better on another system, because it's Microsoft, right? It's gonna work better on Microsoft because it's Microsoft product. Just makes sense. But anyways, that's the only thing. So like, out of all of the servers that exist in the corporate world, especially for things like even serving internal networks, routing calls, stuff like that, it's all Linux, man. It's like overwhelming Linux, like 93%. You got maybe 1.9% of it on FreeBSD or Mac OS, and then because there are Mac servers that use those, but more than just manage Macs, right? So like, but Mac server, they turn it into an application. It used to be you got a Mac server, now you just like dedicate one of your machines to being a server machine. It's all pretty well channeled in the cloud now, which I don't know if I like that, but I don't really deal with Macs a whole lot in my day-to-day. I used to have one when I was working in IT at another company here locally, but I mean, I can use them. Like I said, it's Bash, and it operates almost identically to Linux. There's a few things that are different. Like installing your software is a little closer to being like Windows on Mac OS than it is on Linux. You just double click a VMG and open your package installer. But other than that, it's another computer that you just learn the systems. But in the corporate world, you just don't encounter them as often. But Linux, on the other hand, and you're not always gonna see it. You're probably never ever actually see it. That's the thing. Like, Linux exists in these big machines that are in these long corridors that blow all this air, and they make all this ridiculously loud noise, and so they're usually locked away in an air-controlled environment like the data center, and that's smart. Very, 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 very smart. But that's usually where Linux will be running at. You know, on these huge systems, you know, like dual core, dual socket epics with the new ones are gonna have 96 cores. 96 cores, that's ridiculous. Almost 200 threads on a CPU, on one CPU. And then you socket that sucker into a dual socket board, and then oh my goodness. I wish I could just have one. Just give me one board with just a single socket, 96 core epic, and I will VM the snot out of it. I will virtual machine the crap out of that box. And I'll just have it serving just all kinds of like desktops and just stuff just for the sake of it, man. I do all kinds of dumb stuff here, stuff that I know nobody's ever going to use it, and I really should get more video content out of the crap I do out here. But yeah, like usually I figure it out and I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know what I mean? But it boils down to like money, yeah. So for the longest time, what I wanted to do was bring the family's gaming machines out here and then like run a Linux hypervisor or something like Unraid, and then actually have their machines running inside of that. But what we found out, and what Linus Tech Tips has also found out, the better thing to do is just run an individual system. But instead of running fiber optic DisplayPort cables through my walls, what I think I found a solution for, I did find where they have the video and everything, the KVM over IP. But I think the latency will be too great for that. But there's one reason in particular why I want that. Because since I don't have a true server out here, it is an old second generation Core i7 2700K or what have you. But because of that, it thinks one of the system fans is dying. It's like the stupidest thing. They're all plugged in. It has 3 system fans inside of this box. Let's see if you guys can see. So this is the server. See it there. And then the box over here, the actual PC, when I reboot it, it tells me that it had a system fan failure and that I have to press F1 to continue. And that's anytime the machine gets rebooted. And so my only other solution is to put one of those, like, which actually might be the cheaper solution. So actually, guys, stay tuned for that, because if it does end up being the cheaper solution, I want to make a video about it just because it's something interesting to do. I saw this little button pressing on Amazon. I'll have to see if we can find it here in just a second. Anyways, the little button pressing robot, because that's all it does. You can, it has double-sided tape. You can put it like right next to the button on like a coffee maker, or like just really anything, right? So what I want to do is potentially put it on the keyboard up there on top of the F1 button, because that's what it says. It says system fan failure, even though they're all spinning. It says system fan failure, and then it says press F1 to continue. And that's really all I need it for. That's the only reason why I would need the actual IP KVM. IPMI would be nice, but if somebody wants to donate a server to me, even if it's an older one, I really don't care. I love to play with older stuff. It can't obviously be like so old to where it's so irrelevant or I couldn't use it. I'm super low budget. A lot of my videos, even if I export them in 4K, a lot of the footage that I'm going to be grabbing is 4K from the GoPro and my phone and stuff. But especially live streams and stuff like that, it's 1080p. And even the 4K stuff is 25 meg. I don't have the ability. The camera gets way too hot if I try to turn the bit rate up too high. And so until I get like a better camera all set up and everything, I'm more focused on just trying to get like good quality content out, since I do have a decent enough lab mic set up and everything now. So, but I will try to use it as a NAS or something and host videos on it. I got a terabyte of storage in this one over here, and I got a 2 terabyte hard drive and 2 more 1 terabyte hard drives. Now, the problem is 2 of them are SATA 2, 1's SATA 3, the 2 terabyte, and then I got the SATA instead of 31 terabyte SSD. So like, if TrueNAS is smart enough to take those 4 drives that are all different speeds and put them together in a ZDEV or whatever you call it, and make it to where it all looks like one big pool of storage, and it's smart enough to put, stuff and cache into the flash drive and then slowly write it back to the smart drives. It sounds like a lot of complexity. I might just try to get some newer drives, man. I don't know why I'm trying to really stick this old crap in my newer stuff. And this is an older server. It's an old 2nd gen i7, you know what I mean? I'm still operating on a super low budget graphic. People give me stuff a lot, but it's always like something that's 20 years old. So like I have stacks and stacks and stacks of computers that are all like 20 years old. So this is all an effort to get to more modern stuff. And we're going to start doing that by going in and talking about Linux. And then once we show everybody exactly what Linux is and kind of dip your toes in the water a little bit, then we're going to actually start to learn how to do some stuff with Linux. Show you guys how to set up your web server, show you how to pass it through your home router, and then access it outside of your house. And you can do all kinds of useful stuff in this way. You can put your movie collection in there, where you can run it right to your web browser. You can do stuff like that without having to use apps like Plex or something like that. And you can get around a lot of those caveats and truly customize things to yourself. Or you can also run a Plex server on Linux, as well as Home Assistant, PFsense, the list goes on. There's so much to do. So, and especially they have these little mini computers now. I did one on my channel. It was the V-Link Mini S. It was actually one of my most viewed videos on the channel. You guys really should check that out. But those, they have some of those little computers that have 2.5 gigabit per second LAN ports on it, so you use this as your router. So, but it runs PFsense, right? Well, you may not have anything on it, but you put Linux on there, install Docker, run PFsense in a container. Some of these are quad core, but some of them have like the 448 thread i3, the 10th gen i3 engine, which is, it's not the fastest ship in the world, but it has decent enough speed. You could probably run PFsense and then probably even Home Assistant on the one machine, 2 different containers. Now I wouldn't use the supervised setup for Home Assistant. We don't know what that is yet, though. So before I say too much, because I can't start going into that stuff without first covering Linux, right? Because like if I start talking to you about Home Assistant and all this great software and stuff, you have no idea that you can run them through this stuff and stuff. What am I with you guys? Anyway, you can put Docker on your Windows and you can run some software on your Windows machine. But what a lot of people have found once you start getting into stuff, it's a great thing that you can run all this stuff. What you'll find is a lot of it will slow your machine, especially if you're into doing video editing or gaming, anything like that, where you just want to operate that's either responsiveness. And then sometimes it's not always good to run all this stuff on the machine, and that's where Linux also comes in super duper handy, because you can get these old machines. My brother's camera server is running on a Core i5 6500, quad core CPU, but it's a lot faster than like one of this Elron. And you can get one of those with 8 gigs RAM and a 256 gigabyte SSD already installed in it for like $100, $150. You know, it's not going to run the newest version of Windows, but you'll really need to. So you spend that, you slap Home Assistant on there, bam, smart home. You know what I mean? You have a whole computer, quad core, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, running your smart home for $150. You know what I mean? And not to mention, there's all other kind of other stuff you can do with that. You can get yourself a second one, maybe one with the newer processor. That way you get the advantages of like quick sync video. That's where I would get myself. But we're going to get into all that stuff. So you can have all this stuff yourself. You don't really have to go out and get, either an overpriced box, because that happens, right? When we go to Walmart and we say, well, I need a router, or I need a modem, or whatever, and they go and they get this thing, and especially some of the newer network stuff that looks like a damn flying saucer spaceship thing. It's got all of its antennas and stuff on there, the Netgear Nighthawk or what have you. It looks cool, man, but really for what you're paying, you can get one of those whole computers and just get yourself some access points. Have those run independently from each other. It's actually the smart way to do Wi-Fi, especially if you're planning on installing it in anything larger than 1,000 square feet. I've seen a lot of people make that mistake. For us everyday people that have 1,000 square foot house, one router or whatever, probably do it. Maybe a second one or extender is maybe all you're ever going to need. But you guys that have the larger houses or whatever, that are getting the multiple extenders and all that stuff, all you're doing is screwing your signal all the way up. You're just letting everything take way longer, which the smart thing to do is have like a good centralized router or something like that. That's where PFsense can come in real handy, especially if you put it on something that's got some good you know what I mean? Think about it. That router that you bought from Walmart probably has maybe a quad-core ARM processor in it. It's got like a phone chip. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're running PFsense with 4 2.5 gigabit LAN ports, not only is that upping the speed of your base network, because now you can use 2.5 gigabit switches and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting the benefit of that extra compute power that's orchestrating the traffic on the network much more efficiently than the thing that you're going to buy at Walmart. You know what I mean? I like TP-Link. They're inexpensive, but at the same time, I had to choose, like, between and like money wasn't an option. I'm going to run PFsense and then still have my TP-Links for a mirror on the access. Anyways, gotten a little far away from the subject, so we're going to take it back. I'm going to go get Stan and everything, start getting this stuff recorded about Linux, because we got to start there, right? We got to start with Linux. You guys got to figure out, what is it? You got to figure out what distro you're going to get into that you'll defend to the death. A lot of us Linux people see the fun distro, and then we're willing to fight other people's opinion of what their favorite distro is, because it should be the same as ours. Man, it choked me up saying that really is the sentiment out there sometimes, but that's definitely not how it should be. You should stick to whatever version of Linux that interests you the most, honestly. Here on the channel, though, you're most likely going to learn quite a lot of stuff about Debian 11 Bullseye, and then whatever 12 is going to end up being called. I haven't really looked. One of the reasons why I choose Debian and started learning a lot about it even early on in my Linux days, and that's because if you look at like a large picture of the... Here, I'll show you guys actually. Hold on just a second. All right, so this is just one of them. It's like so big that I'm gonna have to try, and we'll open it in a new tab here, and then see these are just ones that are forked off of Debian, right? So like Debian is one of the earlier distros of Linux, but if we and there's other pictures, as you saw in the thing there that I had loaded. That one is just Debian, right? So like if we go back to the distro trees, we can see there's even more here. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on for like ever, man. There is like we could probably even type that into to Google, right? Let's go to google.com. Let's do how many new Linux distros per day. Let's do per day. Okay. Let's do per year then. Hmm. I figured that would be like a metric that we could just like look up, right? And just see, exactly how many distros there are in general. Says there's 500 or six over 600 active uh, at the moment. Primary operating system. So this metric here actually is discussing more over like in the desktop space, which is super interesting to me. Now I know there's a lot of companies like Papa John's is one. Actually, you'd be surprised to know that their point of sales machines and everything that they run in the store even is Linux and has been for years. Uh, it was low cost for them to develop on, and they were like one of the first to have like good online ordering and stuff. And their check in, check out system for the delivery drivers has always been really cool. And even now, it's digitally map based, which is really cool, man. It's just they've always been really on top of it at Papa John's. You'll hear me bring them up a lot when it comes to software development and stuff because they've done a lot of their programming on Linux, but it's all a web application. So it's the ability to be cross-platform. They don't exactly have to run it on Win or Linux, what they do, because why wouldn't you, right? Like you know what I mean? Like why would you pay for the extra Linux or the extra Windows license when you didn't have to? So that's crazy. This is among professional developers as well. I have to kind of maybe agree with this, but I think anybody that's a professional developer, quote unquote, is going to probably be running like Windows or Mac OS as their main. And that's because it came with the laptop, right? And then whatever they're developing for, they're probably not running that natively. If they are, like if you're developing for Linux, chances are you're probably running it virtual machine. And there's not a lot of bare metal. I'm not saying that it doesn't have to. I'm just saying there's a lot of cloud development. And that's because a lot of Linux machines are web servers, are database servers, etc. So a lot of that, you'll find a lot of that happens there. A lot of people are running Linux bare metally on their machine. It's on a server somewhere in the cloud or in a virtual machine. So that seems to be the go-to. So that's also one of the reasons why gaming has took so many years, not just because it's used by professionals. If you like to unwind and have a challenging game, there's a lot of modern games that take up so much time. You have to think about that. So why would somebody developing for Linux is likely already developing something or a system or something that's vital in future development of the system as a whole. And that's why one of the reasons it's been so changing Linux packages, why it's so easy to break the whole system is because once packages start moving into other packages, they become good flavor. So learning how to purge stuff correctly. I kind of wish Linux did a better adding screen. It's entirely possible. That is one gripe I will make, especially if you have multiple package managers on one system and if you're Will, you'll have some logic which comes with it, and then you'll have some default, and then an app, and then you'll probably run into having these flat packs sometimes. And it just becomes this ridiculous nonsense. You know, and a lot of people give Windows a lot of shit, but I really think, you know, Debian has install .dev files, but even that isn't 100% all of it. So I think we can do a better job at packaging Linux software together to make it feel more like when you install an exe file or when you install a DMG file. A lot of people are going to give me shit for that. Oops, I cussed. A lot of people are going to give me crap for that just simply because the way you did such a you can't use the command line and switch to the word, and it's like I will 1v1 you with the mouse and you know. It's just instances when it makes more sense. Okay, and like why do I have to even take the chance at misspelling the command or whatever to install that software? I should be able to just simply double click the program, and if I have administrator access, be able to put my darn password and install. Almost nothing like that is on Linux. You have to first go and change it to be executable, and then something is runnable, you know, from the executable, but a lot of them are still going to require you // and then run. And that's just simply because that's the way Linux is currently built. But once you get into bash scripting, it's not really that much of a problem. But once you learn that it's that easy to create a script to do all this stuff, you know, like through the terminal, you would have to figure it also not to be very hard to write a software that does that. And just uses the But hey, I'm becoming a developer now, so hey, maybe that's a task for me to work on. But honestly, man, I've had my hands busy working on the 3D packaging that we're working on the work. So I haven't moved from this spot, and I've just been talking relentlessly to the camera. I don't have any comments on the video, which is not unsurprising in the chat. I mean, and that's simply because I am just kind of still getting started, right? So like my B-Link Mini S video was up to a little over 1,000 views over the last month and a half or so, and that's super cool. So I'm just trying to kind of keep on that trajectory, right? It gave me a lot of positive motivation to keep this thing going. I kind of felt like maybe nobody cares, or maybe I should be doing this, or it's a waste of my time, or maybe people won't ever care. Maybe it is a waste of my time. But right now, man, it is what it's working for me. I really enjoy writing, especially I've been getting really into web development here as of recently. I've been getting really awesome into running this website for my family, for basically like a blog for people that are in my family. We can get on here. I'll show you guys actually. So if I go to techyeah.ddns.net / it's the web family media and content server, so WFMCF names. And there we go. So this here is just a website. It's actually WordPress that I have running here, so I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. So here, this is a WordPress website actually that I have running. So I have the server here behind me that you can kind of see here in the shot. So this Linux Debian machine is actually running PHP, MySQL. It's running all that stuff. It's running a LAMP stack, as we call it. So it's running that, and so I went ahead and created a database and gave it access, and I put WordPress just like you would put on a production server or something. But I'm using it as an internal tool, or well, a pseudo internal tool, right? Because it's still on the internet, obviously. You can see it here, which there's really nothing here for you guys. So if you want to put in the address and attempt to mess with my WordPress site, feel free. If somebody actually manages to crack it and get in and access the photo of my grandmother, which is the only thing on there, uh, I'd be super interested to explain to people how it is that we actually lock that down and prevent it. So it would be kind of interesting. But anyways, shouldn't be possible theoretically because even though that one port is open, everything else is closed, and you guys don't have a password. So, but anyways, this is just running here. If we scroll down here a little bit, the page, I have my first post here, which was the picture I was talking about. This is my grandma. God rest her soul. She passed away from us back in 2019, and we all miss her very much. And when I was taking apart her computer, when I was taking it out of her house here, this is where she lived when she passed away. And her old computer had like 4,500 photographs on it. So I'm going to try to take those, and I'm in the process. I'm going to be adding them here for the family to be able to view and look at. And this was just info for them and how to go to the login page and stuff like that. But now I obviously have login page added to the actual web page itself, which I'm not going to log in right now. But that was just something really neat. And obviously we can do this in other ways, but I increased the file limit to 2 gigabytes, and I can take it even further than that, but I have to start getting into the actual PHP files and stuff to start changing those parameters. And before I start setting that stuff up like all the way permanently, I thought to myself as I was installing this, I was like, I've done this so many times now. I feel like I could probably walk people through it, and there's probably people out there that would like to do a project like this. And because once I get logged in here, I guess I'll log in that way. I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so here we are, logged in. And if I go to media and go to add new, see there's my 2 gigabyte limit. Now, like I said, I can change that. Obviously, I can up it if I get into the actual meat and bones of the website. But see here, I have this. Now it's 3.73 gigabytes. It's a little bit too big, so I don't think I have a video in here. Oh, I do. I got my intro short.wmv. It's only 7.25 megabytes, so I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to upload it. Oh, WMV. It doesn't like the file format. Of course it doesn't. It's not about the file size, it's the format. It has to be a format that it likes. So that is one thing. There we go. We got an MP4 file here. Here we go. In PHP, upload max file size directive. I changed that. So see, this is what I'm talking about. There are several things in several places that it says you need to change these. So I thought I had already changed this, but now obviously I need to remote into my server, and I need to open this file, this php.ini, and I need to navigate to the place in that file that says upload max file size, and then I need to change that value, and then I need to restart my web server and try again. Now that's a lot for me to accomplish, and obviously I've spent a lot of time talking, and that's something that we could walk through and do, but just at this moment, when nobody's actually asked for that, I don't want to get that far into it on a live stream unless somebody like had a dire need. They're like, yo, dude, I've been trying to figure this out. Have you ever came across this? Can you show me? You know what I mean? If we were in a situation like that, but I don't think enough people know that I have this type of knowledge yet. So we'll wait. We will wait until people are aware, and I would be happy to help anybody, especially a lot of us are using stuff like this now to make money. If it's building websites for other people, or even if it's just helping manage digital content in general, this can be a really good thing. That it goes hand in hand. Like if you're going to run a YouTube channel, you could run your own website in your house because if like you got fiber like what I'm getting, you could do that and still run it at an address like this, and then you could pass that off onto an actual domain and just make it as enables. So there you have options there, or you can pay extra money to your ISP for static IP. There are options. There's so many options out there, and there's cool stuff you can do. So some of the smart home stuff, which is probably even cooler, which is what I really want to get into, and we will get into, because it gives you the ability to use stuff like Alexa to voice control different parts of the house, change the color of the lights, the smart lights have that ability. So it's like a huge thing. Like you make the light bulb smart, the light switch smart, and it all becomes right. But if you want to change colors and all that kind of stuff, you never just want to convert the fixture itself over to 12 volts. And run from the, you really have to make that decision early on. Whereas solar, that's like the one deciding factor. Then light bulbs, get smart light bulbs, because you'll save yourself a lot of headache. You don't even have to make the fixture on per se. You don't have to put the switch somewhere accessible. It'll always be on. That's one thing I kind of found. It's like once you put these Wi-Fi smart light bulbs in your sockets, and then you switch the light off, then you can't turn the light back on until you flip it off. So the best thing that we'll do is just part fire where it's always on, but that makes it a pain in the ass to try and deal with, because you gotta shut the pressure off, or flip the switch off. That's a lot. To mess with maintenance, all. But anyways, getting farther away from that. It's all stuff, smart home stuff. It's all kind of rooted in here. Right? We're gonna learn this stuff, and it all starts with learning Linux. We're gonna learn Linux. We're gonna get into that command line a little bit. We're gonna learn how to do stuff that looks like hacking, and then I'll point you in the right direction if the networking stuff is more your style. There's a guy called Network Chuck. You can check out his channel. He's a Cisco network guy. I can't remember what certification was, but I know he's like super into Cisco network and other stuff like that. So if you're interested in getting like your CCNA certification or anything like that, you can definitely check out the Network Chuck channel. I highly recommend it, especially if you're trying to learn any of this internet stuff, especially if it's centered around Linux. Real good resources. I mean, not solely from him. I've had my Linux Plus certification since 2000. But I've learned a lot recently from now getting back into it. It's towards the end of the stream. I'm sure nobody may pick up on it. I'll keep trying to kind of bringing it up. I'm actually a felon. I got a felony back in 2016. Needless to say, I had a drug addiction. It took me a long time to get over that. Now that I've been out of it for a few years, I've touched, drugs since 2018. It's my clean date. I really just have come so far from where I was, and it's something that I don't like to bring up in my videos, right? Because once people know that that's your past or whatever, it doesn't matter how far you soared, how far you come from there. That's all they see the drug addict, they see the low life, they see the person that they think that you are in their life, right? And couldn't be farther from the truth. I've been really, really reluctant to talk about it on my YouTube channel anywhere. And that's just simply because, you know what I mean? I want this to go somewhere for me. I want this is important to me, right? and I don't want somebody to discount my knowledge on computers and on these topics that I talk about, just because that happens in my past. Now, there are certain things that I can't speak about because I generally do not have the knowledge of it, and that's because instead of pursuing my career and actually figure these things out and get to play with these really high level systems, I decided instead to get hooked on the painkillers that were being prescribed and eventually turn that into a job resignation and into a form of heroin addiction. And I just went a different way with it, y'all. It took me a little bit to find my way back, and eventually I went to a community-based correctional facility here in Marysville, Ohio, called West Central. A lot of people will know it, and maybe you don't know it. You can look it up. You can look it up on the Google. But that place, needless to say, as petty as it seemed, changed my life for the better. You know, I could become independent from all of the things that I thought were tying me down in my life, and let me actually just be myself. And I've been on an upward path ever since being released from there in January of 2019. And I bounced around. I was in cell phone sales for a while, and then I was working at Wendy's and fast food for a little bit, and that really sucked, man. But ever since May of this year, I've been working for a company called Mastermind. And we'll go ahead and bring them up here on the screen for you guys. As we can see here, this little startup video, try to make it guess I can't make it full screen. Oh well. Anyways, this is the software that I have been helping to develop here. You can see the video kind of here playing. That's the orbit viewer. That's the component that actually displays the 3D data. Now, I started with this company back in May, just driving the car. The car has the sensors and everything on the top of it and scans the road. And that's where I started at. And just over the process of me being there and getting to know the owner of the company, Nicholas Hickman, um, they've found out that I have this channel and that I'm really smart when it comes to computers and I'm really into writing software, and web development especially is something that I'm actually pretty keen on because I've been doing it for so many years, right? I went there and that was the pinnacle of what I learned, and then I went through and I got everything, I got my felony, and you know what I mean, because other things are more important to me than continuing to go down this path of learning computers. And now that I'm getting back into it, it's kind of where I'm picking up where I left off, right? So, like, I'm picking up right into web development. Well, then Flash and stuff was real popular, but now Flash isn't even a thing anymore. You know what I mean? So like a lot of the things have changed, using scripts like jQuery and Ajax and other things like that, and Bootstrap, instead of just manually configuring all of your styles on your own. Bootstrap has been a godsend, especially when it comes to like viewing stuff on your cell phone, man. You just include Bootstrap in your code and just know what to class your divs. Just learn to class your divs, man. Oh, oh man. Okay, I just made sure. We lost music. I thought you guys couldn't hear me. I don't really care about the background music in this view right now. But anyways, you learn how to class your divs. But anyways, so we have a payment marking database and a few things that were running in Postgres SQL, and so like I know how to connect code to the database and build a user interface around it. And it's only been about 2 weeks now since I started in software development with these guys, but I've already accomplished quite a bit in just the short 2 weeks that I've been doing this for them. So especially given my past with being a felon and everything that I went through, I'm super grateful to Mastermind for giving me a chance, and I'm super, super, super grateful to Nicholas Hickman, especially the owner of the company, for just being able to see my potential. Because I didn't ask them for a software development position. It may not even be what I end up doing for a lot of this company. I don't get paid some ridiculous amount of money. It's not like I'm going to go to making double income. And that is one area where it's kind of interesting. You push that button, you push for more. You know what I mean? Knowing that you're worth it, or do you understand that the company's kind of in a tight place? You know what I mean? You absolutely want to be compensated for what you're doing, but you're super grateful, so you're loyal to this company. But I don't want that to come over and screw me over on me. There is quite a bit that I already know how to do. It's actually kind of disheartening to me in a way, because I have to learn all this stuff about mapping and all this stuff that I'm not familiar with, instead of just going something that I am familiar with. Newsletter system, or like something on the internet that I'm kind of familiar with. That's good that I really understand and learn, and I'm sure everything. But I don't know how these software developers out there, you know what I mean? Like, you can go to school and make $35,000. I might not hold a development degree, but I hold one PC network. You know what I mean? Like, so, or a certificate rather. I have all the certifications, I'm just not doing it. So, but I'm also a felon, you see that, so I have to take all these things for myself. But I'm trying to do better for my family. So that's one of the reasons why I'm even bringing it up, and I'm even talking about it on this random live stream that I'm nobody's watching. So that's just because it helps me kind of talk about it and let them know why it is I'm doing it. So I'm trying to just get myself out there and put out the I'm good at good, and hopefully have a little bit of fun along the way. And yeah, hopefully I can make a better life for my family, because right now that's my goal. I'm a felon, and even though I'm really close to getting everything expunged, I can't rent from certain places, so I have to be somewhere. Like there's all these things. I'm in software development now, I'm still making less than the top of it. So like, there's all these factors that are interesting. I'm under a lot of stress currently, and I need something to help get me out of that stress. And right now, I'm buckling down and focusing on what I'm good at, and trying to put a little bit of positive out, because if I concentrate on the stressful parts of my life, I'm not just going to go the same. Or in the past, obviously, and I'm sure people are looking, oh, you're talking about the drugs. It's not always just about the drugs, sometimes it's about the lifestyle. And sometimes, I don't like feeling like I need to run people over to get a little bit of my own. You see what I'm saying? But sometimes life feels that way, right? Like you need to push down the head of the person in front of you. And I don't like that. So, but I gotta do something. So, anyways, I've been up long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Stay tuned. I'm gonna start laying footage down. I got the GoPro here and everything. So we're gonna do just a video kind of about what I went over here in live streams. Just a quick little 6 to 7 minute video just on what Linux is, you know, who made it, where did it start from, why is it important, why would you might want to learn it, and then if we get some good, you know, if we get some good interaction with that video, people please let us know if they're most interested in seeing, or if there's a particular distro that you're interested in seeing, you can leave it as a comment on this video or on the next one, whichever one, I don't really care. I have a really nice EVGA XR1 capture card, so just about from any of these machines I can actually get the raw output from them. So if there's a particular distro that you're wanting to see on bare metal, not just a virtual machine, leave it in the comment on one of these videos. Other than that, thanks for listening to me ramble for a little over an hour and 16 minutes here. Y'all have a wonderful day and stay nerdy, my friends.